Hi everyone, I'm Arya, and today I'm going to show you how to customize the CSS or the chatbot designs. So this is the dashboard of my Cloudlet, and what I want to start by doing is head to Create and Hyper ID. So what I do first is I expand etc. and www to make a default HTML page. So if you don't already have one, you can click here on New File and make one. Name it whatever you want, .html. I already have one here that I'm going to be using today. If you don't, then you could type something like create a default HTML page at the bottom here and hit enter. And after a couple of seconds, the AI has made a default HTML page for you. So the embed code for the chatbot, you're going to want to put that in the header of the page. So that is between head and /head. So you could go like this and then paste in the embed code right here, then click use and of course save. So I already have mine right here. And then the next thing you want to do is you want to grab a template for the design that you can work on. So to find a template, you check on system files, then you search for OpenAI. And then in the red ones here, these system files, you're going to expand system, OpenAI, front files, then chat for the chatbots or search for the AI search, and then decide on which design you want to be your template. So when I made the burning sunset and emerald designs, I used the chest design as a template. And when I made the Scandinavian designs, I used ocean blue as a template. So today I'm just going to use chess. Then you just want to copy all of that because you don't want to make any changes in here. And the reason for that is that when there is a new update to your Cloudlet, all system files are going to revert back to their original. So you're going to lose any progress you've made or any changes you've made if you just change it in here. So definitely don't do that. Copy it and make your own new file. So now we just check that back out. And then we are going to want to expand the correct folders to make our own demo or template. So you expand etc. and then system, OpenAI, CSS, and chat. And then you're going to want to make a new file. You can name that file whatever you want. I'm going to name mine test and then .css at the end. Create. And once that's done, it's going to take you into this new file automatically. Then I just paste this design, hit save. And here you can see all your open files. So I'm just going to close the system file here. And then I go back to my HTML page. So here in the embed code, when I got this embed code, I got the chest design or template. So what you want to do is you're going to want to find the CSS part of the embed code. That is right here. But essentially it's just after the features like markdown, speech, RTL, search, etc. It's right here. So right now the CSS is using the chest file. We don't want to do that because we want to see our progress. So I'm gonna remove that and type out test, which is what I named my new CSS file, and then save that. So now to open my new HTML page, it's basically this URL right here, / the HTML file name. So the Cloudlet link / HTML page file name. So this is it right here. And here you can see the chatbot in the corner, slightly invisible because of the gray and white. But yeah, this is the chest design. So while you're making changes to the CSS file, you can refresh this page to see your progress or see how different things look and decide if you want to keep that or keep doing changes. So what I usually do is I clear my cache. You can also use an incognito window, but to clear your cache, you just hit F12. You're going to want to make sure that you're on network right here and then disable your cache. If you already have done this, you're going to want to click this twice and then just hit refresh normally. And now you have cleared your cache. So that's what I do when I make any changes to the file and save it. I just do that to see what it looks like so far. And to find colors that I want to use, what I use is actually just this hex color picker right here. I just go to Google and search for hex color picker, and I use this. So here you can play around with all the different colors and tones. So yeah, this is how I find my hex colors usually, unless I'm using, like, let's say the colors from a logo or something like that. Maybe I want the colors of a logo to be in the chatbot as well. Then I would use like a screenshot of that and do like a color picker in some type of program that has a color picker. Most Windows computers come with like Paint or Paint 3D, and you can use that. Or if you have more fancy programs, then of course use that. You just need to get some kind of color picker. So next up is editing the actual file. So when we go into this new file here, most things here are actually pretty self-explanatory, but I'm gonna explain some things here. So this right here, this is the URL to the imported font. And you can change this to something else if you want to, but if you do, then make sure to change the font here and here as well. And then this part right here, this is just making sure that the chatbot is prioritizing basically its own CSS instead of your website's CSS, so that your website's code won't interfere with the chatbot design. So you're going to want to leave this as is. And then all basically like headers like these, you're also going to want to leave these as they are. And then these headers, they are pretty self-explanatory. So here you see chat button, and this is the chat button when hovering above it. Here is the font size of the chat button. You got the chat window, the chat header, the chat close button, and chat close button when hovering above it, chat message container, and chat message container, like right here. This is actually the color of links. And then visited right here. This is the color of links that someone has already clicked on. Chat question waiting, which is when you ask the chatbot something and it's like kind of like blinking with the animation. The chat question after it's been sent. Chat error if there's an error. So what's important to remember here is that if you change the message bubbles from the chatbot to like a dark color and then change the text to a light color, you're definitely going to want to change this color right here, because in the standard designs, this is a really light red color and only dark text shows up well for it. So if you don't do this, then if there's an error message, people would just see like a red block without text. Here you get the chat answer. And yeah, so on. So with all of these headers, it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'm gonna go through some of the stuff here today. So you have like positioning that should be fixed, and anywhere that you see something like bottom or right, you can change that to like top, left, middle, whatever you want. Border radius, that's basically how rounded something is. So the lower this number is, the more squared the design is going to be, and the higher this number is, the more rounded it's going to be. Then you got borders, you've got padding. So padding is kind of like, so I'm going to show you. So this like prompt field here, this is like to the content. And then you've got the padding, which is basically the space inside of the border. Then you got the border itself, and then around the border you have the margin. So if you wanted to make this prompt field like smaller or bigger, you would want to change probably the padding and make that larger. Then you got font sizes. Usually you're gonna probably want font size at 16 or more, because that's what looks best on phones, and most people do use phones. Even if they're visiting your website, they're probably going to be on their phone. You've got colors. So color, when it looks like this, it usually refers to like text color or icon color. while background color, like here, is the color of the actual content. Like, for example, the color in here, or the color here behind the text in the header, etc. Then most of the background colors in the templates are actually gradients. And you can make it just one color. Usually what I do when doing that is I just do make both of these the same hex code so that I can change it back to a gradient without adding more code or doing too many changes later on. And yeah, so these are basically the most important things in in the entire design, actually. Basically, anywhere that has like a number and then px, it's going to change something in the design, and all hex codes are going to change the colors. So this is mostly what I have changed when changing the design on these chatbots, and it's probably going to be most relevant for you to change as well. Some places there are also RGBA color codes, like here, and you can change this out with hex codes if you want to. So let's say I want it at the left of the page. I want it even more rounded than it is, so I'll increase this number. Size of it is fine. I'm not going to change that, so I'm not going to change the padding. Font size is also okay with me. But I do want to change the color. And this right here, this is the color of the icon or text if you put any text in there when getting your embed code. So I'll make that like a dark greenish color, like so. And I think I'm just going to remove the border on this one, but instead of completely removing it, I'll just set it to 0 pixels. That makes it easier to change later on if I decide that I want a border after all. And it also makes it easier to use this design as a template for my next design. Then what I want to do is I want to change the background color. So let's say I like this color. So I'll do that here. And if I wanted a single color and not a gradient, I would paste that number in here as well. But I'm going to make a gradient today. So I'll do a lighter one here, like so. And then I want something to happen when I'm hovering above it. So when I'm hovering above it, I want the icon or text to change colors. Now let's do something like this, maybe. Then I'm going to save it. It's been successfully saved. And then, like I explained, disable cache and refresh. So now the button is at the left side of my screen, and the icon or text changes colors when I'm hovering above the button. Chat window, that's basically like the entire window. And so what I'm going to do here is, see here, I'll change it to the left side as well. And maybe I want the chat window to be like really wide. So I'll change the width from 450 to 850. Then background here, this is the background color. So let's do something else. Let's do this. And again, I could paste this in both of these if I didn't want a gradient, but I'm going to make a gradient here. So let's do these two colors. And then for border radius, that is, again, how rounded the design is. So let's increase that a bit, see how that looks. And border, I'm going to remove that for now. And that's what I'm going to do to the chat window. So then I'll save. Refresh. And this is how the design looks so far. Chat header. So this is basically the text in the chat header. So maybe I want to increase the font size. Let's do 14 pixels. And I want to change the color of the text. So the background color here is pretty dark, so I'm going to want a light color to make it actually be visible. Let's just do something like this. And then I'm just going to remove RGB and all of the numbers inside the parentheses and the parentheses themselves. And I'm going to paste in that text color. Then I'm going to save that. go back to my page and refresh it. And now this is what the header text looks like. Chat close button. That's this button right here. So first up, we got the border radius. So maybe I want it to be kind of like a circle or something like that. Maybe I'll increase this to let's say 20. And I want to remove the border, but keep the option to add a border later on. And to make it kind of like circular, so now I have increased the border radius, which is going to make it rounder, but it's still kind of like, it would be kind of like an oval shape. And that is due to the padding right here. So if I change the padding to something like 5 and 7 pixels, it's going to be more of a circle. So then I'm also going to want to change the color of it. Maybe I'll do something like this and this. And then here, color. This is the color of the X in the middle here. So the colors I picked for the background were kind of light colors, so I'm going to want a darker color for the X. I'm going to do this color right here. And here I could also change the pixels, like the pixels from the edge. So change the positioning of the close button. And then here I've got the chat close button hover. So this is what's happening when I'm hovering above it. So let's say I want the X to change colors to something completely different when hovering above it. Maybe I want it red. I'll just pick a red color that I like. And I'll put that right here, color at chat close button hover. Then I'm gonna save. Now the chat button is kind of a circle. It has that light bluish background color. And when I'm hovering above it, if you can see it, it changes to red. The chat message container. So that's this part, like the background. And then some of the elements are actually for this text right here. So let's say I want the message container to be taller as well. I'll change this to 600 pixels. And then background color, that is the background color right here. So maybe I want that to be kind of white-ish. One thing to consider when you're making your designs is that like a true white color isn't very comfortable to the eye. And that is something you want to consider when choosing your colors. So a true white and a true black is going to be kind of straining on the eye. And you could risk your users just not really wanting to use the chatbot or not enjoying the experience of using it because the colors are too straining on the eye. So something like FA here it's not a true white, but it is very light. So I'll use that for the background color right here. And then border radius, maybe I want that to be more rounded as well. Let's set this to 20. I decide that I don't really want a border, 0 pixels. And then color, I want to change the text color right here. So let's say I want this kind of like darker gray, almost black color, like darker than the color that's there right now. Let's do this one. Like so. Then I'll save that. So now the chat window is a lot taller. The text here it looks black, but it's not a true black. And the background color is more of a whitish color instead of a grayish color. So one thing you can do is you can add a cached snippet to your model. So I do have one here actually. So if I type contact info here, it's going to come back with a static reply. And here I can see the current link colors. And one way I can easily see like what kind of color would look good here is if I hover above one of the links and I click on inspect. And then that's going to open up here. So here you can see like the link. And then down here, you can see the CSS. So here is the color, and you can open the color picker right here actually, and test out different colors for the links. That way you can see how it looks with the rest of the message before choosing a color. So when I do this, it's not going to save anything. I'm going to have to copy this right here, the hex code, and I'm going to have to put that here. Now, if I type in contact info, so it was kind of a subtle difference. It's slightly darker than it was before, but now the links are this color instead. So this part here, we're actually just going to ignore that. It has to do with the animation. And we're going to go to this part right here. So this is what is happening when a chat question is waiting to be answered, like when it's blinking during the animation. So let's say I want it to be a different color. Then I can change the background color right here. Let's say I want it to be kind of like light red when waiting. Then I'll do like so. And I want the text to be a dark brown grayish color. So I'm going to change the color right here. Then here at border radius, you can change how rounded it is, like the bubble, chat bubble. You can change the margin, which is like around the text. I'm not actually going to do that here today. And then padding, that is the space that is like between the text right here and the border. So if you think that this is kind of too big, then you can go here, maybe reduce that to 10 instead. Click save. Now, keep in mind, I only actually changed the waiting question. So once it's been replied to, it's going to change back to the original chest design unless I change this too. So this is the question when it's been replied to, when it's no longer doing the animation or blinking. So let's do a different color for that as well. Let's do something like this for the background color. And I want the same text color. So I'm going to go back to chat question waiting and copy the color hex code right here. And I'm going to paste that in right here. And then for padding, I'm going to reduce the size of that as well, like so. Then I'm going to save it. Refresh my page. And now this is what it looks like when it's been replied to. And to actually see what this looks like, you're either going to have to be lucky or unlucky with a, for example, an OpenAI error, which is really seldom. It has, the all the models have like 98 to 99% uptime. But one way you can kind of simulate this is by giving it a role error. So if you go into your Cloudlet, and I'm going to open this in a new link, and you click Manage and then Machine Learning, then you're going to find your model, click Configure, and here at Authorization, you're going to give it some kind of role and then save. Now, if you go back to your page here and write anything, it's not going to reply because the model requires authentication before invoking the model. So here you can see what an error message looks like right now, but maybe I want to change that. So I'll do something like find some darker red color, copy that code, and then I'm gonna paste that in right here. Then I'm gonna save that. And now if I ask anything, it's gonna give me this error. So maybe I want the chat answer to have like a dark chat bubble and light text. So I'll go back to my color picker, find a whatever dark color, copy that. And I'm gonna put that in background color here under chat answer. And then color here. This is not actually going to be the color of the text. The color of the text is actually back in chat message. Right here. So now if I copy this code right here and I put that in here, you can see that's almost like a black color. So I'll change this to a lighter color, something like this maybe, like so. Then I'll go back down to the chat answer and see if there's anything else I want to change. So here at padding, I have 15 pixels, but I changed this to 10 on the question. So let's do that for the answer as well. Then I'll click save. I'll go back in here. And now you can see the chat answer. And when you have changed the background color of the chat answer, you're gonna want to make sure that the color of links is still visible, and it kind of isn't right now. So I wanna inspect this again, and then go here at the side, at the top, and here I have the link colors. So I wanna make this a lighter color, but I still want to make it visible that like this is a link. You can click this. So it needs to be a color that's kind of different from the rest of the text, but it shouldn't be too dark because then it's hard to see. So maybe something like this color. Then I'll copy that, go back in here, and then I have to scroll back up to chat message container right here and change the color on these two. At 318, you got the references list. So here you can change the color. So if you want to use the references feature and you want the links to be displayed in a different color, then you can change that here. And you can change, of course, the padding and whatever for this. You can also give it like a background color if you want to. But yeah, just test out different stuff and see what you like. And this is when you're hovering above it. So you can make it change colors when you're hovering and all of that stuff. So the chat prompt is this part right here, the one that you write into. So let's give it a different background color. You can give it a gradient if you want to. This is not gonna look great, but just to show you, I'll do like a green gradient. So at the background color, I'll do this light green and on this, yeah, this pastel green here. You can remove or increase the size of the border. So I think I'm gonna remove it actually. You can change the padding. Maybe I want the field to be kind of larger. Maybe I want it to be 20 instead of 10. And border radius is for how rounded it is. So let's increase that as well. See how that looks. And then hit save. Go back here, refresh. And now you see the prompt field has this kind of green gradient. And it's much larger. And then you might also want to change the placeholder text here, the ask me anything. You can barely see it now actually, but maybe you want to change the color of this. So let's do something like this dark color here. And that is at the very bottom here, the chat prompt placeholder. Right now that's an RGB color, so we'll replace that with a hex code. Save. And now that is basically black. You can also change the opacity of this. You can add something like opacity so and so many %, for example. That might be an advantage to do if you're changing the color of this to something like a dark color. So I hope this was useful and maybe you learned something, maybe you didn't, but thanks for watching.